Hey, what's up, guys? Shuckle King here, bringing you a video for NCP, but not a battle, because due to the Christmas season, we're going to be taking a week off from upload, so instead you get a video about my recent free agent transactions. So, again, make sure you guys like the video if you like the content I'm putting out, and if you could give a subscription, I definitely appreciate it. And give some feedback below about if you like the free agent changes I made or not, or why I made changes when I'm currently 5-1 and in pretty decent position to make playoffs. But yeah, anyway, we'll get into this. So yeah, why am I making free agent changes even though I'm 5-1 among like the top 3 in the league right now? And I feel like my one loss was just like an unfortunate game type of deal. Well, I haven't been using a whole lot of mons on my team, so it's really been a close to like 6 months I've been using. Dragapult Melmetal's come to every game. Porygon and Necrozma have come to all but 1 game. Same Landorus and Cinderace have all come but to 2 games. And then Clefairy, Mantine, and Kyurem have all come to 2 games. And then Aselgor and Roselia have not come to any games. So yeah, it's really a top 6 that I've been using. And it's weird because I have Kyurem on the team. And like Kyurem is like one of the most expensive mons. And I really wanted to work out like a Dragon Core. But it really didn't make sense in a lot of matchups to bring them on. And another reason I drafted Kyurem was to have a bulky water answer. And I feel like I just haven't had the need for it, just because Dragapult handles waters fine. Like a spec such as pressures them so much, and like I don't take anything from Scald. Necrozma can like take on any water type, honestly, with Toxic, same with Porygon too. And can even trace some abilities from water types, which are pretty nice. Clefairy could take them on as well. Mantine is okay at adapting to them. So, like, I don't realistically see like Roselia coming to take on water types when I feel like I have a lot of bulky mons that could do so anyway. So yeah, so these first 2 changes are going to be in effect to week 7 against Jesse, and my third change is going to be effective against week 8. I play the Kentucky Keldeos that week. So for week 7, yeah, as you can see here, I dropped a Aselgor and Roselia. So they were 9 and 2 points, so 11 points total, and they were the last 2 Pokemon I drafted. Aselgor is nice with 145 speed, outspeeding everything that's been drafted. Outspeeds Zeraora, which is nice. I don't face it this season, but I definitely could face it in playoffs because Mid is definitely going to be making playoffs, and he has a pretty decent team. Zeraora Victini is a super strong combination, but Aselgor, like, it was the primary reason for me drafting. It was for a spiker, and it's also resist Earthquake. And you see 80 HP, 40 defense. You would think it's not taking Earthquakes that great, but with a lot of defense investment, especially because it like 326 speed as you see at level 100. At level 50, that's gonna like almost speed type base 100s with no investment. So you could easily invest in a lot of HP and defense and take Earthquakes actually pretty fine, especially with heavy duty boots. But like I really never had an opportunity that I felt like Aselgor was good in a spiking role before like dying to like a hit or 2. Especially because I was facing pretty good removal options, and Aselgor just doesn't really hit that hard. Base 100 special attack isn't that great, and really the only coverage it has is Bug Buzz, or not Bug Bite, Bug Buzz. So can I even let's look at special hitting moves. We got Bug Buzz, Energy Ball, Focus Blast, Sludge Bomb. There's really not a whole lot of coverage there. Final Gamut was a move I always consider bringing, just because if you can kill him on at the beginning, that's a problem, then that's great. But a lot of mons I'm facing don't have, like, the mons that I was worried about for the future have more than 80 base HP, even if I'm max invested and they're not invested. So Aselgor wasn't going to be that effective in that role, which is definitely unfortunate. So not that great offensively, and utility mon, I didn't think it was decent enough for me to justify bringing, and it doesn't really force much prep necessarily, because you almost always want to bring a defogger anyway. Roselia, as a 2-point mon, it's great value. It's an aromatherapy mon. I do have a Clefable that can heal Bell, so at least I have a cleric on the team already, but it was mainly there to handle bulky waters and was a grounded poison, and I feel like I can pick other mons that are better in that role. It really doesn't provide a whole lot. Like, special defensive, it can be great, but I think I'd prefer to have Porygon 2 or Clefairy in that role, and I'm also pretty knockoff weak, so having Roselia there doesn't really help with that just because of his such low physical defense stat. It's a cool mon. It's also a spiker if I really wanted it to, but there were 2 mons that opened up during free agency in the last couple weeks that I really wanted to add on the team, honestly, at the during the draft, and they weren't there, but they became available, so I picked them up. So, again, dropping a Selgor and Roselia, that gives me 11 points, and one of the mons I'm picking up for 7 points is Quillfish. So, Quillfish, definitely not as fast as a Selgor, but it's faster than Roselia, I suppose, but it's another water type I have in conjunction with Mantine, so you could say that's kind of weird, but at least Mantine and Quillfish both are neutral to grass, which is nice, and then and we have ways to super effectively hit grass, actually. And any other type they're both weak to would be electric. Electrics are bad against both, but I do have Dragapult, I do have Landorus, and I do have other ways to handle electric types in the team that you'll be seeing in the future and after this video, so I'm not too worried about electric types. But I really like Quillfish for 7 points. It gives me an option in Rain if I do have to face Rain. I believe the Rain team is probably not making playoffs. I know Shikwaza was on the team originally. I can quickly see who has it. I don't honestly remember off the top of my head, but yeah, but Quillfish is still nice in that role. I could set up Manual Rain if I wanted to, and then Swift Sim with 95 attack, like with liquidations in the rain, is pretty okay. So it has offensive options. It could be a Scarfer. I've run Scarf Quillfish in the past, but the primary reason for me to get it is Intimidate, Spikes, Toxic Spikes. It's a Thunder Wave user, so if I want to slow something down, it's definitely a plus. Destiny Bond is a cool move. Explosion is a nice move coming off pretty decent attack stat. Intimidate, it's also good to let me set up a little bit easier with like a Dragapult or a Melmetal or like Necrozma. Just getting attack drops is also pretty cool. And it's not terribly passive. It has base 55 special attack, which is pretty bad coming off a Scald, but it's also burn opportunities. So Quillfish definitely spreading a lot of status on the team and hopefully getting up hazards. And Toxic Spikes are pretty cool in conjunction with a Dragapult Hex combinations there. Also has priority. Not that I really need it because I have pretty decent priority on the team, but definitely a plus there. So Quillfish is cool. And then for 4 points, I got Manectric. So currently with the team, I guess you could say speed tiers are kind of weird. And if you guys know me, I don't really necessarily care about speed tiers, but 4-point Manectric seemed pretty nice. It's a 105 speed, so it's faster than the Landorus, which is base 101. And then the next Pokemon I have is base 119, which is Cinderace. So, like, base 115 mons, like, I guess, like Raikou and Azelf, you could probably get away with running Modest. So you're doing more damage there. If you're going to run Modest now against me, I do have a Manectric that could be Timid and add speed. So it just forces a little bit more prep, maybe forces a Raikou to go Timid, which means it's going to be less powerful. So, I mean, I'll definitely take that exchange. Manectric is something that handles the electric types that Quillfish and Mantine don't want to handle. So now I have a lot more mons that can handle electric types, so I'm not too threatened by them. And I even get a special attack boost, which coming off base 105 special attack, it's pretty okay. But Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Overheat are probably coming every game. I don't think I'd really run Flamethrower over Overheat unless if I had to. Ice Fang is ice coverage to hit grounds. Hitting grounds is definitely unfortunate with this, but I did get Quillfish that can at least super effectively hit grounds, even though it is weak to ground types. It doesn't really handle grounds that well otherwise, but you also have options for Hyper Voice and Throat Spray. So, like, this type of set, you could Hyper Voice on a ground type that switches in, then get a Throat Spray off and get a +1 special attack. So you might be able to kill some ground types with like a strong Hyper Voice and then a +1 Hyper Voice, or at least severely weaken them. So I'm not too worried about that, but I am worried about with these changes. I am definitely a lot more Earthquake weak. A Selgor could handle ground types, and now I have less answers to handle them. I only have the Landorus and the Mantine to do so. So I do have to watch out for Earthquake Mons. Quillfish also gives me a better knockoff switch-in, which was also a problem I had with the team. So I definitely will take that exchange. So these two switches, the Quillfish and Manectric, will be active for week 7. And active for week 8. dropping Kirim, which is definitely sad. And I wanted Kirim to work out, but it didn't work out against D-Ray, which was unfortunate there. But yeah, it was mainly there as like a water deterrent, because it has freeze dry. But I also have a lot of mons that do that, and Manectric and Quillfish can also both at least somewhat handle water. Quillfish being able to set up spikes in water types, and Manectric being able to hit water type super effectively. So it was just two more things that could handle water types. So I feel like Kirim didn't really need that role anymore. And offensively, I mean, I have a Dragapult, so like both of them offensively are cool, and they can both handle fairies in their own unique ways, Dragapult and Kirim. But I also have a lot of mons that can handle fairies well, and especially with Quillfish is a more offensive way to deal with fairy types, and obviously I have Melmetal and Cinderace that handle them pretty well. So I really found it tough for me to bring Kirim in games. I mean, I brought Clefairy as many times as I brought Kirim at this point, which just shows, I mean, it shows how good Clefairy is, obviously, but it just shows that Kirim was tough for me to fit into the teams that I had. So I wanted a Pokemon that I feel like could have had a little bit more potential to fulfill some weaknesses that I felt like I had, even if they weren't necessarily exploited by my opponents yet. And I'm, again, setting up for playoffs, so I was looking at the Quillfish and Manectric. I think both have better matchups for future playoff opponents than Icelgor and Roselia. And then I think Kommo-O has better matchups against my opponents than Kirim does for playoffs. I'm not really looking to week 8 to 10 for these free agent changes, because I'm going to be making playoffs at this point, unless if I lose all my games and go in 5-5. But even then, I should be in a pretty decent spot to make playoffs, even if that happened, because my differential is pretty decent at this point. But yeah, no, I went to Kommo-O, so a little less speed. It doesn't really handle fairies, but it gives a lot more resistances that Kirim does. Kirim only resists 3 types, but Kommo-O gives me a great knockoff switch in, which was definitely a weakness of mine. Melmetal can take knockoffs well, but then I lose my either my choice band or protective patch or like a berry. They'd almost always beat items I run on Melmetal. I guess it's all Fest too. So I don't really want to lose the items there. Necrozma gets hit super effectively by knockoff, but it really doesn't mind. So Necrozma, like, as my knockoff switch in, it's kind of, like, not the greatest, but it's okay. But now I have Quillfish, which takes knockoffs pretty well, especially when Intimidate. And now I have Kommo-O that takes him on extremely well, which is definitely nice. Defense is about comparable with a Kirim, just because even though I have low HP, I have a lot higher of a base defense stat. The special defense is not as great, but it's still decent enough. But I have a lot of cool options with Kommo-O for setup. Autonomize, Dragon Dance. I don't have access to Clangorous Soul because it's banned in this league, which is unfortunate. I believe it also has special setup too, but I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But it can go physical or special because it's both 100 plus in those attack stats, and it has pretty cool coverage. It does have an Iron Head, and it does have a Poison Jab that both super effectively hit fairies. So fairies aren't the most reliable thing to switch in on this mon. But Kommo-O can also be more defensive than Kirim can be. Like, I could be like rest Iron Defense sets, and they're pretty tough to take down if you don't have a strong special attacker that especially has fairy type coverage to take me down. So I feel like Kommo-O is just more versatile, and like I don't even need Kommo-O honestly on the team. Like the core of Dragapult, Melmetal, Cinderace, Necrozma, Porygon 2, and Landorus. Like that's just a really nice combo that I've been like spamming pretty much this whole season and maybe into playoffs. But this just gives me another mon that I think has more versatility there. It also could take Earthquake's fine. I'm still pretty weak to Earthquake on this team. Another reason I got Kommo-O is Stealth Rock. It gives me another Stealth Rock option. So my team currently was Necrozma, which can run rocks, but I don't really want to. Clefairy is a niche mon. And Landorus, I usually like Landorus as a more offensive option than running rocks on it. So I'm pretty comfortable with running rocks Kommo-O pretty close to every week if I had to. So yeah, that's my team. I'm really excited to use Kommo-O and see how it does. And just having another fighting type to take on bulky normals that Dragapult doesn't handle is also a plus. So yeah, I have a lot of exciting things to come out with Kommo-O, hopefully. And hopefully we can make a pretty good playoff push. But again, thank you everyone for the support you've been giving me this season. And make sure you check out all the other coaches. We'll be uploading week 7 games the week after this week. But yeah, have a good Christmas, everyone. And until next time, later, guys.